Hello, and welcome back to TBD and our presentation on UML modeling. UML modeling is a specific kind of modeling that we wanted to use during our design phase. So thank you for joining us today. I'm Dylan, the team lead for TBD, and these are my compatriots.
I'm Jake Henley, and I'm the project manager for TBD.
First up, we have the use case for our voucher system. So the use case defines the primary target, being the customer, and how they are going to interact with our system from their point of view. So our customers have a couple of different functions that they can make use of, including the C balance function being their primary way of seeing what they have in terms of gift certificate and balance. Transfer voucher in case they want to transfer to a friend if they weren't able to join us on property, and use voucher, which is a function that they would only be able to use being enabled through staff. The retrieve voucher function is another staff enabled function, which would be through accounting. If they go on a tour, then they can receive that voucher and have that voucher generated for them.
So next we have the domain class diagram, and at the center we have the voucher class, which includes a unique ID, status, and a validate function. Vouchers are issued to customers and can be linked to specific tours. And then we have the issued voucher and redeemed voucher classes, which are just different types of vouchers, where issued vouchers are managed directly by staff and redeemed vouchers by cashiers. Both staff and cashiers have roles assigned to them specified by the role class. Um, the voucher type class indicates what type of voucher it is, and while the audit class tracks actions taken on vouchers with timestamps, just to track and ensure accountability.
Next up, we have the system sequence diagram, which looks at the life cycle of a particular data point, such as a voucher for a single end user. So the beginning of the life cycle for the voucher is going to be generation from accounting. And in order to do that, we need to make sure we have the correct user information. So we would either be pulling that data from tour information that we already have on file or directly from the end user, just to confirm that we have the correct information, we can get that to them correctly. Once the user confirms that information, accounting can then generate the voucher ID, essentially giving them that credit, and then the database will exist for access with all three users. At that point, once the voucher does exist, it will basically live inside the user space until they are ready to redeem the voucher, which is usually going to be through an employee on property. So the employee can then check the voucher status against the database. They can then push the redemption of the voucher and apply that to whatever payment, and they can update that information in the database. Once it has been redeemed, the end user can see that it is redeemed, and that will be reflected in their user portal and in their balance. Apart from our voucher creation and redemption, there's also expiry. So if the voucher lives long enough to see the end of its life cycle, then we will have a regular check, most likely daily, to ensure that vouchers are still valid. And if they have expired, they will be moved to historical data, which can be seen in the user portal. Next up, we're really going to hammer this home. We have an activity diagram, which is another way of looking at who is uh, expressing what actions on your objects. So there are two main generation points for the voucher that we actually haven't discussed yet. One of them is going to be on a tour as a regular generation event, which is going to be controlled by administration. And then the other is going to be some sort of icky event and subsequent compensation to a guest for an issue they might have experienced on property. There's also a third type which admin is going to handle, which is if they want to make it as like a prize for a giveaway or something of the nature. So they also have the option to generate there in admin as well. Just like in our previous diagram, you'll see the different things that each party can do, such as the customer viewing their portal, the staff using the voucher and redeeming its value, and admin just generally having the ability to generate, expire, and change information about the vouchers. I will have to change some of these to reflect that there is a lot of overlap between customer and admin and staff and admin, since admin should generally have access to all of these functions. But apart from that, once the voucher either becomes historic by expiring or is used and redeemed, it will live in the historic database, and that will be the end of its life cycle.
Finally, we have the state chart diagram, and this just goes over the life cycle of each voucher. So we start with generating a voucher, and from there you can access it. And when you access it, that can query or request entry to the database, which then queries the result back to the voucher. From there, we can edit or manage it, and that pushes through to the database, which then queries the result back to the voucher. Or then from accessing it, you can redeem, and then the redeem pushes the entry through the database and queries the result back to the voucher, and so on and so forth, all the way to the end of each voucher.